Here are the most common mistakes people do when solving quadratic inequalities. Now, what most people do is that they bunch up linear inequalities with quadratic inequalities. And that's wrong, because quadratic inequalities have their own set of rules. So we'll go through those rules today. So the first one, x squared minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. Now first, before we start anything, try and look at this as a cup. This is a cup and the water is inside the cup. So it's good. That means it's going to be less than 0 because it's not going outside the cup. But if we go down, we can see in this example, this is the cup and the water is overflowing out of the cup. So that means the water, or x squared minus 1, is going to be greater than 0. If you get that analogy, then everything else will be easy. So let's start off with the first example now. So our first example is x squared minus 1 is less than or equal to 0. So whenever it's less than or equal to, it's all the dot over here is always going to be closed. So it's going to be fully shaded in. And whenever we have less than or equal to, the bracket is always going to be a square bracket, if you can see here, a square bracket. Now to the next example. X squared minus 1 is just less than 0. Not less than equal to, just less than. So that means these circles are going to be open, if you can see here. They're not going to be shaded in. And that also means that the brackets are going to be circular. You can see here, circular brackets. So how do you read this notation? So for the first example, it was x belongs to bracket -1 to 1. And then for the second example, it is x belongs to -1 to 1. And that is -1 not equal to, but greater than -1 to 1. Now let's move on to the third example. Alright, so remember how I said the cup and it's overflowing? So that means it's going to be greater than 0. So we can see it's greater than or equal to, so that means the circle is fully shaded in. And that also tells us we're going to use a square bracket. But why does this infinity right here have a circular bracket? The rule is every time you have infinity or negative infinity, it's always going to be a circular bracket. So we use a circular bracket like that. So we can see here it goes -1 to negative infinity. The arrow goes to that. And then 1 to positive infinity. So how we're going to write this in our notation is x belongs to negative infinity to -1, like we've said in our bracket. Then union 1 to positive infinity. So we can see in this arrow as well, 1 to positive infinity. Now let's go on to the last and final example. So x squared minus 1 is just greater than 0. So we can see it's just greater than. So we have a circle with nothing shaded in it, so it's an open circle. And that means we also use a circle bracket. And remember that we always use circle bracket for infinity. So we go x belongs to negative infinity to -1, union 1 to positive infinity. And we can write the arrows here showing that. So those are the 4 examples done. But how's the exam style question going to look like? Well, here's one exam style question you'd probably get on an exam. So I've solved everything right here, and I'll show you why. So the logarithm, so you can see find the maximal domain of fx is equal to 4 log e x squared minus 1. So for the log, we know that the x squared minus 1 must be greater than 0. If it's 0, then it will be undefined. So, if it's 0, then it will be 1. So, let's do this. So, you just have to solve it as however I showed you up above. So, you can see we've got the example here. X squared minus 1 is greater than 0. So, just go up here. So, we use this example. And our example will be in that notation. So, the maximal domain will be negative infinity to -1, union 1 to positive infinity. And that's all of it done. So that is quadratic inequalities. I hope you guys liked the video. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.